Welcome to the Growth Collective Power Hour. My name is Ellie. I work for Douglas J. Beck, and we are so excited to introduce Alicia Carter. She is with us today to do the Power Hour. Alicia specializes in Airbnbs, and we are so excited to have her on. So without further ado, Alicia.
Oh, thank you, Ellie. I'm so excited to be here and just honored at the beautiful opportunity to help in any way I can to take what I've learned so far. My heart is for my ceiling to be the floor of those I get the honor of serving and helping. So I hope today that you can feel that you're kind of getting a step up and you're getting to skip some of the hard stuff, even in just the smallest way. So I've been a short-term rental host for a little over 5 years at this point. I kind of launched into it, not even really knowing it was such a blur and a whirlwind. My background is actually in social work, and I walked away from what was supposed to be my career for the rest of forever and had an opportunity to dive into the world of interior design, got a certification for staging and redesign. And my first big project was a triplex Airbnb. I partnered with a real estate investor. We got that thing designed and opened up, and the rest is history. In about 18 months, I designed and started hosting 20 Airbnbs just back to back, and had a phenomenal monthly income from that, 5 figures a month, and was like, what have I stumbled into? This is incredible. And completely fell in love with hosting and with designing Airbnbs, and the whole concept of hospitality is just near and dear to my heart. And so quickly we realized that we wanted to own our own things, my husband and I. We didn't really want to host other people's spaces forever. We saw the revenue that was coming in. I was making a small chunk of that as the host, and I was like, there's so much more here that we're missing out on. We love DIY. We've been fixer-uppers for forever now, lived in fixer-uppers and done all the work ourselves. So we just went full in and purchased in 2021 a ranch, 40 acres, 7 cabins, historical cabins. Some of them are a little bit newer, but they all need renovation work. So we're working through that project. 6 months later, we bought another 40 acres with a massive home on it, 4,000 square foot home. There's 2 rentals in the home, and we live here as well. And then we have an additional house to rent. So when it's all said and done, we'll have 10 rentals all around us on 80 acres. And it's so exciting to watch the vision become reality, just day in and day out, with diligence and blood, sweat, and tears, and pouring ourselves into what God has given us to steward. So that's my story. That's the quick and dirty version. That's where we're at today. So, hi, Doug. I see you.
Hey, what's up, Alicia? How you doing?
Oh, it's so good to see you. I'm good. How are
Likewise.
you?
Yeah, appreciate you being here. Thank you for coming in and talk with the group. I just came out of Simplified's group actually a few minutes past here, but appreciate you being here.
Oh, it's an honor. Such an honor. Thank you for having me.
Of course. We appreciate you coming in the time. Candace, you have your hand up. Go for it. I just kind of came in. I didn't know if you guys were already talking and stuff, so I'll be here if you need me to be. But Candace, go for it. What questions? Or did you have a comment or question? You're on mute.
You're on mute.
Sorry about that. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I don't want to interrupt if you have a presentation or
No, it's Q&A. So whatever. I'm here for questions. Take it away.
I'm gonna ask the big one that probably everybody starts with, and that is, what do you look for when you're looking at a prospective property to buy that you're going to definitely have as an Airbnb? I know most investors go by the 1% rule, but Airbnb is a different thing altogether. So what do you look for when you're looking at properties?
So my first thing is I head right on over to something called airdna.com and just kind of get a feel for what's happening in that local market, especially if it's not a market that you live in. So you don't pay for AirDNA. What they offer for free gives you enough of a glimpse into market trends. So they're going to show you what is the occupancy rate average for that area. And they do it by city. So you can't like type in a specific address, but just the general location, you're going to see market occupancy rates on average, nightly rates on average. And then it's also going to show you the seasonal things that happen in that market. So are there times of year that bookings are higher and lower? And how low are we talking about? So I like to see an occupancy rate that's around 70% on average. Now, I just want to say, I can't leave my faith out of this. I wouldn't be where I am without it. And so our current operation, we did not see those kind of occupancy rates, but we knew that this was our purpose and this was going to be something we need to steward. And so part of our mission here where we are, and you may very well find yourself in a similar spot. So that's why I'm mentioning this. Our job here partially is to be the tide that raises the ships, right? So I've already been in conversation a lot with local Airbnb people around us. And I'm like, you guys, we can all do better. Let's raise the standard and let's get our occupancy up and our nightly rates up. But in a market, I also want to say that when I was in downtown Albuquerque, I had 20 listings. I didn't have all the fancy tools that I have now, so I didn't really know what was happening behind the scenes. My pace was so insane that I didn't even really slow down and think about it. But once I started using some of the tools, I started pulling the curtain back and seeing that our occupancy rate was over 90% on average across our 20, and everybody else was performing at 30% or lower. So we were like, I had no clue how much we were dominating that market. And so I also tell people, just because you see a market with lower occupancy rates does not mean that's a no-go zone. That means maybe you bring a level of excellence to that market and you are the go-to short-term rental host to that market. So I'm so sorry, Candace, this is not, I'm sure you're looking for like cut and dry. These are the check boxes to mark. But in general, my blanket statement is 70%. If you're seeing an occupancy rate around there, is going to be a safe, comfortable environment for you to enter as a short-term rental host or investor. But don't be afraid of a little bit of a challenge and an opportunity to bring excellence to a market. Does that answer your question at all?
Absolutely. And I was having a meeting earlier today with a friend and who is also an investor, and we were talking about making it Instagrammable.
Yes. Right? Oh my goodness. That's such a huge thing. I'm sorry. I just got really excited because that is huge right now. And I've seen incredible things happen through Instagram even in the last 6 months as a short-term rental host and investor. So huge. And that's another thing too, to keep in mind, that marketing Airbnbs is not like throw it up on an online, an OTA, an online travel agency, which is Airbnb, Vrbo, HipCamp, Booking.com. There's a whole list of them. You don't just throw it up there and then sit back and twiddle your thumbs and say, oh, they're going to come. It used to be that way. Even just 5 years ago, I didn't have to do any marketing whatsoever outside of Airbnb, but things are shifting and you do have to have some sort of marketing plan off of those OTAs, which would be Instagram, Facebook, your own direct booking website. So I'm sorry, I think I interrupted you, Candace, please.
No, that was definitely what we were talking about. And do you specifically get influencers to come and have the market for you?
Yes. Yeah. So recently, the most recent thing that we did was I've been able to connect with a massive key influencer in the city of Albuquerque, which again, I can't leave my faith out of this, you guys. When we first saw this cabin ranch with the 7 cabins and the 40 acres, it felt so big and like, okay, God, if you're going to give us this, I know that you have a blueprint that you want to give me for how we make sure people know what we're doing out here, because we're kind of tucked away and we're a little bit hidden from the rest of the world. So I literally sat with Instagram open, and in prayer just scrolled through Instagram and said, okay, show me who we need to be working with. And so this particular one was highlighted to me, and I started following her. Her name's Cassandra. She is incredibly influential in the city of Albuquerque. And there's a whole story that I don't have time for, but a beautiful series of events led to us becoming friends. And she has partnered with us, and there's no monetary exchange whatsoever. The exchange is she is partnered also with a jewelry company and a clothing company. So a couple weeks ago, they came out. She brought a group of models, also all influencers with massive followings on Instagram. They came to our property and spent the whole day taking pictures in the clothing from the clothing company, in the jewelry from the jewelry company, and on our property at Cabin 5, out in the field, in the cabin. So now every time that's posted on Instagram to all of those audiences, all the models are influencers, the businesses are all influential, and Cassandra is incredibly influential. We are tagged, our number 10 ranch is tagged in any of those posts. And so our reach has, I mean, 10x on our reach just from that one partnership. So what did we bring to the table? I blocked the calendar for Cabin 5 for 2 nights. The night before, so that they could get in there early the next morning. And then that night I blocked it so we wouldn't have any guests and they could stay as long as they wanted to get pictures in the sunset. So we sacrificed 2 nights. And I'm telling you guys, this is your marketing budget. Forget all of your other marketing plans. Setting aside blocking time on your calendar for influencers is your marketing budget for your short-term rental. So 2 nights, and the payoff has been absolutely incredible and will continue to be. And we're actually planning a big influencer event out here in the next couple of, we might have to wait till spring now because winter is like knocking at our door. But we are going to do a massive influencer event specifically targeted to wedding venue, photographers. Think about for your short-term rental, who's your ideal customer, not just for your rental, but what are other avenues of revenue? Can you have photography at your rental? Are you open to filming happening in your rental for TV shows, for movies, for commercials? This is a real market. Are you open to sometimes businesses want to rent a short-term rental just for a daytime meeting that happens over the lunch break. And they just want a nice big table with a kitchen and a place to sit. And so you can do that between bookings. So there are so many options. You think about who that ideal customer is, and you strategically start to form relationships with influential people who will help you connect with that audience. So the rest just unrolls and unravels from there. Okay, because Candace left. I hope I answered your questions, Canvas. I don't see you on my screen anymore.
I didn't leave. They just unspotlighted me.
Oh, you're still in my spot.
I didn't do it. I swear I had nothing to do with it.
I didn't do it
Goodness
either.
gracious,
I don't
Beck.
know who's doing it.
All right, I did it.
That was really helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, good. Hi, Wendy. I hear your voice, but I don't see your face. Oh, I'm so glad you're here. Yay. Does that help, Candace?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Definitely. And these are all things I have heard and seen happen. And I actually have a friend who does exactly what you're talking about. She was my friend first, and then she became an influencer.
Yeah,
so
it is a
about
wild
of that, but it's great what she does. It is a group thing, and she's here in Sarasota, Tampa.
Yeah.
Her name is Gail, and she has Eat, Drink, Find Beauty, and she has a group of girls that do exactly what you're talking about. And so, yeah, I have that if anybody's interested in the Tampa, Sarasota, St. Pete area, by the way.
So if you guys wanted to kind of see in real time, this is not me trying to get, I please don't follow the ranch if you're not interested in it. But if you just went to our Instagram account, you'd see in real time in the last 2 weeks, the posts that have happened and the traffic we've had. That's at, I'll just put it in the chat here, at NO10 Ranch on Instagram. If you search for that, you'll find us. And you can kind of see what's happening. It's really exciting. One other thing I do want to share on that note, if it's okay, is we recently also partnered with 2 businesses in the city, also with the help of Cassandra. She's like the great, like these influencers are some of the most genuine, beautiful people I've met, and their hearts are for collaboration and partnership and bringing like-minded people together. That's like, that is they are so good at that. It's their superpower. So she brought us together with a charcuterie board company that is very aligned with us in vision and branding, and a spa. So we did a giveaway where they get a spa treatment and they get a charcuterie board spread and 2 nights in the cabin. And that giveaway resulted in us, I think we gained 550 followers from a giveaway, which we're small. So we had like, I don't know, 350 followers before starting. We're almost up to 1,000 at this point. It was like overnight, the fall, and genuine, real followers that are our target audience. They're in Albuquerque. It was beautiful the way that happened. I can't wait to do it again. And what did we give for that? 2 nights in our cabin. And the person who's staying is also an influencer, it turns out. So she's going to share our cabin all over the place, and it just snowballs. So anyways.
And the way to do that, technically speaking, so that everybody understands what we're talking about, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, is you make a post and you say, I'm doing a giveaway, and in order to be entered into the giveaway, you have to tag 3 friends, you have to follow us, and whatever your rules are. And so that's how you gain your followers, and that's how more people see the post, right?
Yes. And you need somebody that's watching they do story shares, which is just a way for it to be like a more personal share to an intimate audience on Instagram. So if people share to their stories, they get bonus points. It can be as complicated or as simple as you want it to be. Don't feel intimidated by it. You're welcome to reach out to me and I can kind of talk you through just the nuts and bolts of it, if that's something you're interested in. But you'll just need somebody who can then collect all the data. We did it for a week. So at the end of the week, someone collected all the data and plugged it into an automatic name generator and randomly selected a winner. So, but if they did more things, their name got put in the hat more times. So pretty cool. Yay, such a good question. I love it. That was awesome. I see some questions in the chat. Why do you think you were able to dominate the market? Such a good question. So again, I can't leave my faith out of this. I just believe with all my heart that we had a special favor on what we were doing and that we brought a level of excellence to the short-term rental market in Albuquerque that hadn't been there before. And so just a natural result of that is that we became the best place to stay in the city if you're wanting a short-term rental experience. We also very strategically priced our short-term rentals. So we weren't the most expensive place, but we also weren't the cheapest place. We were like in this beautiful little middle spot that felt safe for people. Like they weren't paying such a low amount that who knows what they were going to walk into, but it also wasn't like astronomical. So it was unattainable. We had a lot of people traveling through for business and to see family. I mean, you know, just all the normal reasons that people come through a city. We were kind of like a safe, we brought a level of value at a price that felt attainable for people. We weren't, I don't know if I'm making sense, but we weren't like pricing ourselves out of being accessible to the majority of travelers. So another thing I know made the difference is that we were very well branded. So I design all the short-term rentals. So they're naturally going to have the same feel in all of them because I'm pouring my whole heart into that. It's my blank canvas that I'm just creating on. So I literally would have people see a listing, the dates aren't available on the one they want to stay in. They're scrolling through the rest of Airbnb and they see, oh, this one, does this look like that other one? And I would get messages from inquiries from people. I wanted to stay at this other one, but it's not available, but this one looks like, do you do this one too? So my brand was noticeable in my photography, in just the general design, and guests who were returning and wanted to stay with me again. Maybe the one they stayed in originally wasn't available. They reached out to me directly to book one of my other spaces because they knew me, they trusted me, they had a good experience once. They didn't even look at the rest of the market. They came directly to me. So just like what I want to say about hosting and short-term rentals is that you absolutely have to see it as a hospitality business. You have to have a heart for hosting and serving and customer service, going above and beyond. It's not just a passive, I'm going to get a short-term rental and it's going to make a ton of money and that's going to be awesome. It really is a little bit more of, it's not as passive as other investment opportunities. So if you don't feel like that's what you want to do, you want to keep in mind that you might want to hire someone who has a heart for hospitality and is going to bring that level of excellence so you stand out in the market. Another thing I want to say is that the future of Airbnb is really unique stays. So that doesn't mean that having just a single family home is going to be a bad thing for you, but how can you bring something unique to the market, even with a single family home, whether it's in the way it's designed or the amenities that you offer. So when you go to a tool like AirDNA, it gives you data of what the Airbnbs in the market are offering. How many bedrooms do they have? What amenities are they offering? And you can even do this research just by going to Airbnb and doing kind of a comb through of the super host listings in your area. And it's going to show you what maybe where there's a gap in the market that you can fill. Maybe there are some amenities that are less common in your area and you can fill that gap and bring excellence in hosting and business to that market. And you're going to rise to the top. You're going to be the one that people choose. It's just inevitable. Does that answer that question? I think that was Kevin.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I see another question from Kevin. Influencers, what do they do exactly and how do they do it? Oh, the question of the century. Influencers they have built an audience on social media platforms. So there's a range of ways that they do this. I would really encourage you, if you are interested in influencer partnerships, just pick 10 or 12 in your ideal market who take a look at their audience. You can kind of get a feel for their audience by looking at who's following them. You don't have to look at all their followers because they usually have like 25,000 followers, but just take 5 to 10 minutes to explore on Instagram or Facebook. Instagram is really the hot spot for influencers right now in this kind of market for short-term rentals, but get a feel for who's following them. Is that the kind of audience you would want to attract to your short-term rental? And then just watch them for a few weeks, a couple months, because it really is like you are aligning your business with what they stand for and who they are. And you don't want to do that without intentionality and getting a real good understanding. And I would encourage you to make a time to meet them in person and see, like Cassandra's become one of my very dearest friends. And I think that's been a huge part of why we've seen so much success in partnership together, because we just are so well matched in just in relationship.
How would
So
I find them, influencers?
how do you find them? Great question. You can go, if you have a smartphone, straight to not Airbnb, Instagram. And the way to search is like, you can go to the search bar in Instagram. So on my phone, it's this little bottom. Can you guys see? It's this little bottom thing right here. I would just click on that and search your city. So just search Albuquerque or whatever city is closest to you. Sarasota, whatever works. And then you just hit that search and you can see they're going to make suggestions for you. But across the top, there's different options on that search. You guys are seeing our governor right now. So you can see accounts, and then you just kind of go down that list and just start exploring what you're seeing in those accounts. And you're gonna, they're sort of gonna just naturally start to expose themselves as you go through this list. And you know what, it's not something that happens overnight. Like I said, I followed Cassandra, and it was several weeks of me just following her, getting a feel for what she shares on Instagram. I fell in love with her little family. She and 3 of her children are cancer survivors. Like you'll start to feel that, oh, there's something beautiful that could happen here, but in this partnership. And then I didn't even reach out to her. That's a crazy story about how all that happened, but it would be totally okay for you to reach out to them and ask if they would be interested in exploring a partnership. This is what you have to, this is how you feel like what you have to offer could be a blessing or a benefit to them. Have they ever, this is the thing I can tell you guys, influencers are dying for short-term rental hosts to reach out to them and ask them to stay in their short-term rental. It's like the nut that they're trying to crack right now. How do I figure out how to get short-term rental hosts to let me stay in their short-term rental? And short-term rental hosts are like, how do we get the info? So it's simple. It's just relationship building. It doesn't have to be overcomplicated. Just start a conversation and see where it leads. And the beautiful thing is that it's all happening online. So if it doesn't go well, you didn't meet someone in person and you're not gonna like bump into them and have an awkward encounter. It's a little bit safer in an online space. Does that help, Kevin?
Yes, and thank you very much. The follow-up question to that is, so you really can search for an influencer that could market anything really you have.
Yes.
So, but how do you price what it's worth to pay them? Like, or do they have a structure, like, you know?
So most influencers are going to be totally happy to have, I always give a night free, a night or 2 free in our cabin. And I have worked into our calendaring plan. I have some dates, like I keep in the back of my mind all the way through the month. These specific dates are kind of like on reserve a little bit for an influencer who might want to stay with us. Like I'm just constantly thinking about having that option. And once you have one stay, they sort of come out of the woodwork and they'll start asking you if it's an option for them. So it really, at this point, Kevin, it would depend on what your goals are and what your budget is for marketing. Because you have to think about it as your marketing budget. This is not just throwing away free nights or 50% off nights or what. This is like strategic marketing. You're a business owner, put your business hat on and plan your marketing strategy accordingly. So do you want to offer a couple free nights in your short-term rental in exchange? So the exchanges, this is a good question. I'm realizing I didn't get to this part. The exchanges, they share in their stories on Instagram. Sometimes they're bloggers. So maybe they write a blog post on their website about your short-term rental. They share on their actual Instagram feed or on their Facebook profile. Sometimes they'll do both. Wherever their social presence is, they'll share about their stay. So you have all the different kinds of marketing that happens on Instagram. You have you can do a formal contract. Things are a little bit different in New Mexico. We're super, super, super relational in business arrangements. And so I haven't done contracts with influencers because it hasn't felt necessary. But in other markets, it might be super important that you actually have a physical contract that you have said, this is what I am hoping for from this exchange. And they say, yes, this is what I will provide. And I even had an influencer who stayed, and we are a permanent, we have a permanent spot on her Instagram account in her. I know this is like, if you don't know Instagram, it probably sounds like I'm speaking Chinese, but there are, if you look at any influencer's Instagram profile, you're going to see, I'll just show you mine across the top. I have these little circles. Can you guys see this okay?
Yep.
All those little circles those are highlights. So more than one of the influencers we've partnered with has dedicated a whole highlight to our property and the partnership. So if someone's curious about us as a result of getting in contact with them, they can click on the number 10 Ranch highlight on that person's profile and see a whole series of screens that talk about who we are and how much fun they had at our cabin and how to contact us and how to book the cabin and all those kinds of things. So there's like layers of exchange that can happen. You provide an experience, you're providing the stay in your space, you're providing the exceptional hospitality, and they in exchange are providing marketing for you to their audience. Okay, does that help, Kevin?
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
You're so welcome. There's so many layers to the Instagram thing. And I sometimes feel nervous to talk about it because I don't want it to feel overwhelming. And I want you guys to know I have been a student of Instagram for a long time. I just was sort of in the background learning and getting a feel for how that platform works. And I was really super resistant to it. I was a little bit grumpy about it in the beginning. Like, I don't really want to learn a new tool. And do I have to? But reality is that you guys, we have to. And the relationships that have come from Instagram and those partnerships are some of the most cherished relationships in my life right now. I mean that with all my heart. So it is so worth it. And the harvest you'll reap from it will pay off above and beyond what you thought was possible. So baby steps, baby steps. Okay, so Candence, am I saying your name right? Candence, that's beautiful.
Yeah,
Candence.
thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Do you have a secret sauce to funneling people from Airbnb to your private booking options? No repeat business, new clients. No. I'm just going to be totally honest. That is a hard nut to crack. So Instagram definitely helps. I've gotten several direct bookings just from people finding us there and reaching out to us directly in messages on Instagram. And then I direct them to our direct booking site. So direct booking sites, there's lots of different options for that. We use Hostfully, which is a property management system. There are others out there like Guesty. Oh, my brain's going to go totally. Owner Revs. I think it's Owner Revs. So you can just do a basic Google search for property management systems for short-term rentals and see all the options. But you can also just build your own website and use a plugin from a property management system on your website that will give people a way to book directly with you. Just as a side note, there's options for doing that. But it's like direct booking is a long marathon pace mindset kind of thing. Like And I've done a lot of digging into the strategies behind building a direct booking platform, and everybody says it's the long game. It's not going to be overnight. But Candace, I'm thinking I can share with you some things we've implemented to help us with that long game. Would that be helpful?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple strategies that I can think of that I wonder if you've tried.
I would be totally open to that too. Yeah.
So for instance, the title of your booking on Airbnb, you can put that as a keyword and do Google ads. And so
Mhm.
people, Google the title of your property that they saw, and then it comes up. I mean,
Yes.
things like that. Does that work? Does that not work?
Well, that is something I have not even thought about. That's a beautiful idea. I love that suggestion. One thing I will say is that Airbnb is very, very careful to keep people from being able to direct book when they see your listing on Airbnb. They want to keep that all the way to the booking point. They don't want people to be able to. So one way that I have found to, I hate to sound like I'm trying to cheat the system, but hear my heart in this. It's very, very hard to have a property with 7 cabins available. They're not all available, but I'm always thinking about when they are all available, and people knowing that we have 7 in case one's not available, being able to find the others, being able to see what we're doing, being able to see all the potential that's here. It's nearly impossible to give that the real estate it needs in terms of marketing and pictures and all of that, and the full experience on Airbnb in a listing. So what I would love is for people to jump over to our Instagram account, even if they don't reach out to me for direct booking, and scroll through that account a little bit and see all that's happening here, and all the cabins and all of the potential, the retreats, the weddings, the photography, all the things that can be done here. So at the end of my description on my Airbnb listings, I have sneakily tucked our number 10 ranch handle for Instagram into the description. And I have had people, the guest has to be super intuitive about that too, though, and understand what that means, and then go over to Instagram to see the behind the scenes of what we're doing. So that has helped a little bit. I have had some direct bookings come that route. We collect email. So let me back up. Our strategy right now, Candace, is to never have a guest book with us twice through Airbnb. So we feel like that's a sign of, like, we have failed on our part. If they come back to us through Airbnb, we want them to come back to us through direct booking. So we collect email addresses from every guest. I have an email list from all of the guests that have stayed. The way that I request their email address is by offering a digital guidebook in the messaging, because another thing is Airbnb, before a booking happens, it's impossible to do an email address, a phone number, a website. If they see that happening in the messaging, they actually put text across it that says hidden by Airbnb, and it's blacked out. It's impossible to send those things. After a booking is secured, then you can exchange phone numbers, you can exchange email addresses. And so I ask my guests for their email address so I can send them a guidebook, and I have an automated tool that grabs that email address for me, plugs it into my email list, and then I'm able to send them that guidebook. So I'm still offering tons of value in exchange for the email address, but then I have their information. And once we're past the massive push of our renovation phase, my goal is to send a quarterly newsletter to every guest who's ever stayed. And it's going to include tons of things, but one of those things is the way to direct book with us. And we have all of our direct booking information on Instagram as well. Another way, my brain just kind of went blank a tiny bit. Yeah, so email marketing is going to be our main strategy for inviting people to book again with us directly, as opposed to through Airbnb. And I think the incentive there for us is going to be to offer a discount for direct bookings initially to kind of get the ball rolling. Because just like with Airbnb, we're going to need to get some momentum and get some reviews on our direct booking stuff. And so the strategy that I've learned a lot about, and what I feel like we'll probably implement, is that we never will not be on Airbnb or Vrbo. Well, we're actually not on Vrbo. Vrbo is not popular in our market. So we've tried it and it didn't pay off. So we're not doing that anymore, but we are on HipCamp and a couple others, smaller OTAs. So I don't know that we'll ever not be on those, but my heart and our goal is for that to not be our main source as soon as possible. That's the hope. Yeah. Does that answer your question and help at all?
Yeah, absolutely. And I see, just FYI, Wendy has had her hand up for a minute or two.
Wendy.
No, it's okay. It was in response to something Candace said
Go for it.
about Googling. And the best, you're going to want to come up on the first page.
Mhm.
And the more you post anywhere, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, the higher up Google's going to bring you, and you have a better chance of being found even. So that's important. And it's also getting your brand out there and who you are in all those different places.
So good, Wendy. And I don't want to go too like macro and overwhelm, but one big strategy for us will be blogging. So I plan to write blogs that are very easy to be on that first page. Top 5 things to do in the Estancia Valley. Top 5 restaurants to eat at in the Estancia Valley. Top 5 outdoor activities. Top 5 hiking trails. You know, just like good little nuggets. And so the power is, go with me on this, you guys. This is very high level, but there's so much gold in this. So when my guests ask me, hey, we wanted to hike while we're there, can you tell us the best places to hike? Rather than typing the same message that I type 100 times, which is also in my guidebook, side note, I'm going to send them the blog post link when it's all done. And that boosts it up in the Google algorithm as well, because every guest who ever asked me that is going to click on that link. And then there's also, you know, there's a lot of partnership potential in that too. Not necessarily with hiking, but maybe restaurants or activities to do in the area. I can form partnerships with all of those places, and we can boost each other, and that they can put me in their marketing stuff. I can put them in my marketing stuff. And then we're creating a whole community around marketing our small businesses. So short-term rentals, the more we can think about our community around us and how do we partner strategically with other small business owners, because that's what you are, guys. When you're a short-term rental host, you are a small business owner. And even if you're just if you're doing short-term rental investing and you have someone else hosting for you, you are still owning a small business, a hospitality business, and you are a vital part of your community. And the more you can build those relationships and capitalize on that, the better. So, Wendy, it's so beautiful, Wendy.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that.
That's
So good.
good.
What service do you use for your blog?
I don't have a blog yet. I mean, I have a blog for my business, for my design business and course and stuff. The platform I'm using right now for that is Squarespace, and I love it. So I will likely go that route when I build. So we have a direct booking website for Number 10 Ranch right now. There's not a blogging component to that though. So I'm going to have to sort of get creative on that, but I'll likely use Squarespace because I like them. And I'm super familiar with them at this point. Yeah. Okay. But there are other really good hosting, like blog platforms out there. It doesn't have to be that. Let's see. Kevin, I see your.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry. I have to leave soon, so I just wanted to
Yes.
get a couple of questions in, if I
Yes.
may. It's really fascinating to hear your journey, Alicia, and I'm very happy for you and your family and whatever. So, also, you know, I've been in real estate a long time. I think what you described in the very beginning is the whole promise of real estate investing. Like you found your niche and it's working. You mentioned you're earning 5-figure incomes monthly, and that's fantastic. I'm so happy. So everybody here that's listening, if you're new, you know, you may find a niche, right? And may just like Alicia did. And so I'm really happy for you. So just wanted to mention that. So and I'm intrigued by the use of influencers. Do you think, with your expertise, do you think that influencers could be useful with us as real estate investors as well? Just as investors maybe find us properties or something?
Oh my goodness, Kevin, that is such a good question. I think partnerships, relationships that are built with influencers have limitless benefits. So they, like I said, they are like the great connectors in your community. The reason that they are influential on social media platforms is because they have cracked the code. They are gifted and called in networking and collaborating and bringing people together who have a shared goal. So for real estate investment, I really do believe that if you can connect with an influencer, the thing about influencers is it's all about the exchange. So one way that I've seen Cassandra partner real estate wise outside of our partnership, this company called the Bougie Brie that does the charcuterie boards that we partnered with for our giveaway. They are realtors, the two women that own the Bougie Brie. So they put on huge influencer events at their properties that they're in their realty business, new listings. They do a huge influencer event at the listing. And so then everybody who follows those influencers sees the home, sees how much fun people are having in it. It's also great for their business, the Bougie Brie, because they lay out their whole charcuterie thing and it's like a huge, beautiful display. So this is what influencers do. They are so phenomenal at one stone, 8 birds. Like they marketed that listing. They marketed the charcuterie business. They all grew their influence on Instagram as a result of that. They made phenomenal networking and partnership connections at the event. That's the whole thing too, is the relationships that happen when they're all in one room together, and then the new ventures that expand from that. So from a real estate investor perspective, I think if you could find a way, you guys are hearing my dog bark, I'm so sorry, real life over here. If you could find a way to partner with an influencer and have some sort of exchange, like if this partnership happens, this is what I can bring to the table that will be a huge benefit to your goals. That's always the goal, right? With partnerships, how can what I bring to the table make your dreams come true? So what is it what is their goal as an influencer? Who do they want to get in front of? What kind of partnerships are they looking for? So with Cassandra, they wanted to have a beautiful backdrop for their jewelry marketing images. And then she had this other clothing company come along who wanted the same. And then I'm like, hey, I have this beautiful property and I would love for people in Albuquerque to know about it. So you see how all of our goals just perfectly fit together. So
Fine, nicely.
Does that help, Kevin?
Absolutely. Very good. Terrific.
You have to think outside of the box.
Yep.
And you have to be willing to do things that other investors around you are like, oh, we've never done it that way before. Like, what are you doing? You are literally forging a new path. And do it. Go for it. The benefits will be huge for you. Yeah.
Terrific. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Douglas says, my dad has had a short-term rental in Kissimmee. I love that name, by the way, since 2005, and he has used some creative marketing strategies. One example is that he offered a free 3-day, 2-night stay as a giveaway at Tricky Tray events. And he lets those people stay in between other reservations during low seasons, or allows them to apply it to, my little boy just brought me cookies and milk.
That's awesome.
Oh, how sweet.
Special deliveries. I
So
love those.
precious. He and my mom are down there baking their hearts out during low season, or allow them to apply it to a week-long or more reservations as a credit. See, these are like creative, outside of the box ideas. And every guest that stays is going to tell at least one person about their phenomenal experience with you. So that's another thing, back to the direct booking that we were talking about, making sure that your guests know, hey, there's a direct booking option. And if you have friends and family that want to stay, just send them directly to us. Like at this point, we're going to take really good care of them. We're going to love on them and serve them with our whole hearts. And there's no reason for them to pay the extra Airbnb fees and go through all the hoops of Airbnb. They can just come straight to us. So any way you can work that into your communication with current guests is going to make a big difference. So good. I love that, Douglas. Such a good example. Okay, I see another hand from Candence. We're best friends now, you and me.
Didn't even know. Is there something where you would be looking at a property and think it's a good fit, and then you find out something and that's a hard no, and you're like, not going to make a good Airbnb? What is that thing?
So the number one thing is the neighborhood. If you don't live in the area, send somebody who you trust to drive the neighborhood, not just the street the Airbnb is on, but a good circumference, like 3 or 4 blocks around that property, and get a feel for what's happening in the neighborhood. I'm telling you guys, the number one reason that we systematically, it was honestly, God helped us to slowly and methodically and beautifully separate ourselves from our very robust business in downtown Albuquerque. It's because the neighborhoods just started to really fast, and the impact on our business and my mental health as a short-term rental host, it was, there are no words for how hard that is, because the neighborhood is completely outside of your control. And one beautiful thing that Airbnb has done recently is shift some of their standards for reviews. If a guest mentions the neighborhood in their review, it's removed, or there's potential for it to be removed by Airbnb, because that's outside of your control as a short-term rental host, and they acknowledge that. But it's still absolutely going to impact people. They're not going to remove every review about it. The guest has to say the exact right thing in their review for Airbnb to flag that and take it off of your listing. You're going to have guests complain and be fearful and uncomfortable when they arrive. I've had a downtown, we had the most beautiful, beautiful Airbnbs, but people would pull up and see that the neighbor's house had bars on the windows, and they would drive off before they ever even checked in, because that scared them. And I cannot control what my neighbor is doing. I have zero control. So, yeah, I think that would be my number one, like that would be the deal breaker for me, is what is happening in the neighborhood. Do the grocery stores feel safe? We don't even have a grocery store for 45 minutes from us here. And that was not even a concern for me. It's not so much about having a lot of amenities around you. It's about how are those amenities, or how is the area reflecting on you as an investor, on you as a business owner, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then there's something else that I was talking about with somebody earlier today, there's some areas that don't allow Airbnbs and there's some areas that do, right? And those rules can change on you as well.
Yes, they can. Hopefully, like in Albuquerque, they did grandfather in a lot of short-term rentals into the new system when they started making all those changes, but not every market is going to be that way. So definitely something to consider. Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm going to jump in here. I want to respect our wonderful guests' time. And also we have our session coming up, our core growth collective session coming up right now with Douglas Beck. Alicia, I got to tell you, that was a wealth of information and your delivery was so on point. I totally enjoyed it. I know everyone else did as well. Thank you for your time and your expertise, especially. And we truly hope to have you back soon. Now, before you go, please tell us how we can communicate with you. How can we contact you besides your Instagram handle that you gave us?
Yeah, so you can reach me. My email is Alicia, ALICIA, at aliciacarterinteriors.com. That's a great way to reach me. I'm also on Facebook. You can find me there, and Messenger is a great way to contact me as well. So yeah, Instagram, Facebook, email, those are you can find me on Airbnb. Any of my listings, you can contact me there as well. Contact hosts. So.
Albuquerque Queen, Alicia Carter. Alicia, thank you so much for your time once again. We hope to have you back soon, please.
We'll see you guys next time, maybe.
Thank you, Alicia.
Thank you, Alicia. Appreciate it. We'll talk real
Have
soon.
a good day. Okay, bye, Douglas.
Everyone
Thank you.
else, hang out right here.